expressed by the mayor this morning. And we worked very closely with Susan Siegel, who was there. Susan is the city attorney, and the city attorney's office prosecutes all adult misdemeanor and gross misdemeanor. The county attorney's office does all adult felonies and all juvenile crime. Why do we have that designation? I can't tell you, except it's been that way for 60 years, and so we've learned to live with it. But there's no break in the mark. When there's a case that goes to Susan's folks, it goes what's referred to ours, and we cross-deputize when we need to, so we can seamlessly prosecute the cases that come to us. We respond to something that the chief said earlier. This chief and this mayor made juvenile crime prevention a priority. Previous police chiefs ignored juvenile crime, not this one. And he knows what a difference it makes. The emphasis in the juvenile unit, which is extraordinary, and the commitment that we have in the county attorney's office has made a lot of difference. That's one of the reasons juvenile crime has gone down. We do not only aggressive prosecution for those who break the law, but we also try to do a lot of crime prevention that I want to talk about. That's one of the reasons the juvenile stuff's down, and we're going to continue that pressure and keep it down. One of the places we do is the Juvenile Supervision Center. If a kid is picked up, if a kid's out at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning and they're 13 years old, there's only two things that are happening, neither one are good. They're either going to commit a crime or a crime is going to be committed against them. That's why we have truancy laws, and these police officers will bring folks to City Hall, to the Truancy Supervision Center, and the folks will come in and the parents will be called, and steps will be taken to make sure that that young person stays off the street. That's important stuff. The center provides an avenue so police can drop folks off. So if you see people hanging out on your street corner, and they're young, call your police, and they will respond and they will take it. The same thing for truancy during the school year. The kid's not in school, they're not learning the things that they need in life, and we take that very seriously, working with the Minneapolis police and with the school district to make sure kids are picked up and taken to school. We've got to have those kids in there, and aggressive truancy and curfew work, I think, has a lot to do with reducing juvenile crime. The chief and the mayor talked about guns. There's no question that the guns are the biggest scourge in our community today. We are very frustrated. We've done a lot of things over the last 20 years trying to take guns off the street. But one of the things we do very well is when those cases are brought to us, we prosecute people for carrying a gun, if it's illegal for them to do it. Kids can't carry guns, period. No discussion. We work with them and we make sure that that kid and their family and other people in the neighborhood know kids shouldn't carry guns. It's illegal, and we go after it. In addition, anyone who has a record, a felony record, felons can't carry weapons. And felon in possession of a gun is a case that even my good attorney friend Mike Christensen could win in a court of law. And I pick on him, and I really appreciate the work he does. But to prove up a gun case, you have to prove that the person had a gun, that they were a felon, and they're not supposed to have the gun. That's not too hard to do. We keep very careful track of gun cases. Unfortunately, sometimes the evidence we have, and it's not a possession case, it's a more difficult one, isn't as good as we want. We charge the gun, the witnesses go south, and sometimes we have to do what we call in the business, eat the gun, because we don't have a case. That happens on occasion. We're sorry that happens. We do our best to make sure we don't eat guns, but sometimes we have to. Sometimes sometimes there are circumstances, particularly in the juvenile's background, by which juvenile judges and sometimes adult judges decide that the full penalties that could be executed against gun carriers are not executed. Doesn't happen very often, and if it happens, it sure happens over the objection of the county attorneys there, because we don't want guns in the streets. We're doing something with the people we catch. But as the mayor says, society has simply not provided us tools to go back and to trace that gun back. On drug dealers, you know, we're much less interested in the person who's selling small amounts in the street. We want to go back to the source. Much, much harder in guns, and that's another discussion. Take a long time. That's something we all need to be working on. Let me just say, in terms of the prevention stuff, we're working on a lot of that too. There are other people I think will be talking. There's a lot of good programs in the summer that will be done here. We're active with Minneapolis Police and the City Attorney's Office in court watches, where we can get impact statements before judges so they can really understand that this is a real case and a real human being and it impacts a real neighborhood. And, you know, it makes a whole lot of difference when somebody's looking them in the eye. You may say, well, it's not my job to go downtown and look a judge in the eye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's all of our jobs. And when you all from the community come, they listen. It's much, much better than what the county attorney could say. We're working on the geographic restrictions. You know, gentleman was talking about on Broadway, particular areas. We work with the city attorneys to put geographic restrictions, and some of these people say they can't be in the neighborhood that they've been terrorized. And increasingly, judges are understanding the needs for those, and I think that's making a difference. And one something nice about that is, if you know somebody's got a geographic restriction in the neighborhood, you just call them off they have to go, or they're back in the queue to do some real time. So let me end with this. We're working real hard to prosecute effectively and efficiently, but fairly with a sense of justice, those people who do break the law. We're also really working particularly with kids to try to keep them from breaking the law in the first place. Keeping them in school, giving them useful activities to do. And when they make their first mistake, and most of us kids do make a mistake sometime in our life, meet them with meaningful consequences, understanding who they are, and trying to help them never do that again. It's a good package, and I wish we had as good a mantra for adults as we do